Hi, this is the third part of the financial literacy course. In this part, I am going to introduce the financial literacy concept to you, and then I will discuss about the minimum information that we need for all of the individuals. Then we will talk about inflation and interest and some common misperception about them and also how they work together. Then finally, we will discuss about the 5 basic profiles in terms of financial information, attitudes, and behaviors. Financial literacy might be defined as the ability to understand and effectively apply various financial skills like personal financial management, budgeting, investing, or saving. Financial literacy helps people become self-sufficient so that they can achieve their financial stability in their life. When we talk about the financial management for personal use, we need to aware of three things actually: information, attitudes, and action. Information refers to the knowledge that we have currently in terms of financial management. So let's say if we can apply the interest rates very well when we are calculating cost of borrowing money from a bank. Attitude is the tendency that you are up to actually. So if you are more up to borrow some money from the bank, maybe asking to your parents and so on. Actions are the real steps that we are taking. So in here, attitudes and actions are the separate things because usually they are not, even though we expect people actions to be inconsistent with the attitudes, it is not the case always. At minimum, we want people to understand the basics of interest and inflation. If we talk about the interest, it is basically time value of money or the price that we are paying for using somebody else's money, so the capital. It is cost for the borrower and it is earning for the lender. Let's say you get some loan from a bank. You're paying some interest for the money that you borrowed. On the other hand, there are some other people deposited their money in the saving account in a bank. So simply the interest rate, interest earning for the, interest will be earning for them and it is going to be cost for you. There are two types of interest applied: nominal interest and the real interest. Nominal interest is the interest that you see, for example, on the advertisement of banks on TV, or let's say we can say that it is the stated interest before taking the inflation effect into account. On the other hand, the real interest is the adjusted interest to remove the effects of inflation to reflect exact cost or the yield. Let's see what the inflation is. So inflation might be defined as the general and sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. In here, one important part is that sudden or unexpected price increases in any product. Or let's say there is a brand name new and there is a new launch product, so there is a high price. This is not the inflation. To talk about the inflation, we need to make sure that all of the prices in the entire economy are increasing. There are two reasons for the inflation to be increased. According to one of the most famous economists in Turkey, Mahfi Eğilmez, there are two reasons. If the consumption demand for products and services exceeds the quantity produced and supplies, there is an inflation occurred. This is called demand inflation. In this type of inflation, basically there is a price increase because the demand is higher than the supply. This is actually inconsistent with the prior discussion that we had about the scarce resources in the world. On the other hand, if the payments made for the resources used for production. Any type of resources in here that we're talking about. It might be raw material, labor, lease, interest, and so on. So if there is a price increase in these resources, then simply cost for the manufacturers will be increased, and they need to reflect this cost increase to their prices. So the price level will be increasing as well. Then also there's going to be another inflation. This type of inflation called supply or cost inflation. Interest and inflation are not in isolation of each other, so simply they work together. In our example, we have Dennis. So he wants to purchase a bike. The price of the bike is $1,000 right now. Although he has the money right now, $1,000, he decided to invest his money for a year in a bank, in a saving account, and decided to buy the bike next year. By doing so, he believes that he can also earn some extra money with that interest that he will be earning to afford some other needs as well. The nominal interest rate is 10% and the inflation rate is 5%. Let's calculate how much profit Dennis will make after 1 year. On the left bottom side, you see the current price of bike as P0, which is $1,000. Also, Dennis' current money is $1,000, which represented by D0. The price of the product after 1 year will be increased by 5% because of the inflation rate. So the price is increasing over time. 5% of $1,000 is $50. As you can see on the formula in P1, 1,000 plus 5% of 1,000 will be $1,050. So this is the amount of the price of the bike for next year, depending on the inflation rate. Let's also calculate how much money the Dennis will have after 1 year, which represented by D1. So because the interest rate was 10%, so simply we expect that he will be earning 10% of 1,000, which is $100. So in total, Dennis have $1,100. However, we cannot say that it was really 10% because simply there was an inflation as well. So everything that he can purchase, the prices increased as well. So we cannot presume that it is really 10%. We need to adjust it by the inflation rate. The real earning that he has, although simply $1,100, this is the current money that he has right now, minus the current price of the bike. So he can have $50. And on the other hand, let's calculate the real interest rate. So we have the little formula in here in this little orange box on the right bottom side. If we apply that formula, then we will see that actual interest, the real interest, was 4.76%. This is how the interest and inflation work together. So if there's an interest rate, we always need to adjust it by the inflation rate. What we expect from the financial literate people. So first of all, we expect people to understand the concepts such as interest, inflation, budget, planning, and consumption. We already talked about interest and inflation. In the next sessions, in the next part, we will be discussing about the rest. So if we plan the financial needs wisely and if we manage these needs very well, so simply the society will be also balanced because if we increase the wealth level of people in general, simply unemployment rate will be decreasing, and also all of the extra costs that we are right now covering as employees will be decreasing as well. So therefore, it is very important to sustain this understanding, these concepts. According to some current research findings by Financial Literacy and Inclusion Association, there are 5 basic profiles in terms of financial information, attitudes, and behaviors. We cannot say that, well, some of them were perfectly doing okay in terms of financial management, and some of them are not doing very well. So we have financial gurus, modest parents, conservatives, dreamers, and careless youth. Because these are financial gurus, simply we expect them, well, usually they're at middle age. They have high income level. Actually, because they have the high income level, they have some extra money to make savings or to invest their money. Then they search for the opportunities. And then when they find out some opportunities, they make these savings or they invest their money so they improve their financial position. But because they're already earning high income, so it is actually accumulating over time. They have the desire to improve their financial position over time. They can take some risk as well, the financial risks. They have some short-term and long-term goals. They also work with budget and they're very stick to the payment deadlines. So if you look at the bottom bullets, so being stick to the payment deadlines, working with budgets, having some short and long-term goals, simply these 3 will be helping you out to be financially sustained. So it is going to be improving your financial positions as well. On the other hand, the second group is the modest parents and fathers. They always think about their family's future. They have some retirement plans as well. They're so afraid to borrow. Modest parents do not want to take risk as well, so they don't have high income desires as well for future. So simply, they're very satisfied with the current position that they have, but also they are concerned about their family's future. Conservatives have limited income. That's why maybe this is the one reason that they're conservative. They try to save money for their children. Only mandatory needs to be filled, and they avoid any type of interest. They're avoiding interest, earning, and interest expenses as well. And dreamers and careless youth. Usually, they're at the age of between 18 and 24 years old. They're usually single. They dream of a wealthy future. Even though they have a wealthy future dream, they're not planning for that or they're not taking any actions to accomplish their goals. So this is all for this part. In the next part, we will be talking about what we mean by balance, and we will be discussing about the basics for budgeting, and we will talk about how we can manage the uncertainty for future. Thanks for participating and talk to you in the next part.